to experience a trial against the person that murdered your family member is definitely something I wouldn't wish on anyone.
I met Tiffany Crutcher and her family in 2016 after one of the worst days of her life. Because before George Floyd, there was Terence Crutcher.
My brother wasn't a suspect. He wasn't suspected of committing a crime. He wasn't a fleeing felon. And to just listen to the defense demonize and vilify and do the same thing they did in the George Floyd's trial, talk about his past, talk about his addiction to drugs and things of that nature. And to hear the police officers in the helicopter say that looks like a bad dude, I just wouldn't wish that on any other family member in that painful duration of a trial.
Just like George Floyd, there is a video of her twin brother Terence dying at the hands of a police officer on September 16, 2016. Betty Shelby said she fired her weapon because Crutcher didn't obey her commands to lie down on the ground as he walked away from her, and he appeared to be under the influence. She originally stopped after seeing his car off of the side of the road.
You can see that it is completely up, and there is blood going almost to the top of the window.
We asked for the facts, we asked for answers, and we clearly got it through the video. And we're truly devastated. The entire family is devastated.
Betty Shelby faced a first-degree manslaughter charge. Her trial made national news.
We just felt that people would hear the story and hear the arguments and do the right thing, especially because we had the video. We saw Terence with his hands in the air. We knew that Terence was unarmed. And we just believed that they would see that and that we would get justice.
But unlike George Floyd's family, when a verdict was read, the tears the Crutcher family cried were not tears of relief, but frustration and devastation.
I said that I would accept whatever the verdict was, and I'm going to do that. But let it be known that I believe in my heart that Betty Shelby got away with murder.
I sat next to my mom and dad holding their hands really, really tight. And the verdict was rendered. And when they said not guilty, I went numb.
The moments felt like flashes. The words not guilty carried from the courtroom to the courthouse hallway. Betty Shelby seemed to disappear, but the Crutcher family, without a second to process, was burdened with putting on a brave face for community in disbelief.
We had to walk through that crowd, and you were there in front of all of those cameras, and hold our heads up high and get on the elevator. And if you remember my mother, she was the one with the quiet strength, the one that never really reacted, the one who was dignified. And when we went into that elevator with all of those flashes flashing at us and the doors closed, my mom collapsed into the wall. And she started screaming that she killed my baby, she killed my son. But it was that moment that I made a vow that I would not rest until we got justice, until we transformed Tulsa's policing department. And I meant every word of that. And I believe it's that promise that I made that keeps me going. It's that promise that I want to honor. I believe it's Terence's last words to me when he shared with me, God is going to get the glory out of my life. And I believe that I have to fulfill that prophecy. And I believe that a lot of the work that we're doing will save children and future generations from having Terence's same fate.
Even though Tiffany doesn't actually live in Tulsa, the place her brother called home has relied on her to be a voice for change. Even after the loss of their mother, Tiffany has kept pushing forward.
You have been through something that now the entire country is going to go through together, and that is how to grapple with what has happened. What is your advice to people? Even though they have hope after this verdict, a lot of people do, the work doesn't end.
We have to realize that we're we're dealing with this through pain and trauma, and we have to create spaces of healing, spaces to really deal with our mental health. And that's what I'm learning to do, because I understand this isn't a race, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And it's exhausting. Every day we wake up, we have to be boots on the ground, fighting injustices just because of the color of our skin. And I'm just passing the baton. I've learned how to turn my pain into purpose and my anger into advocacy and my fear into faith. And if we can just kind of cling on to those principles, I believe that we'll teach future generations how to use and elevate their voices to do the same thing.